All right, let's dive into this. Because the Eagles' offseason is already heating up and the rumors are coming fast. First thing first, we need to talk about the coaching situation. Because the big news is that Mike McDaniel is officially headed to the Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah, that one stings for Eagles fans. Because he was a guy many people wanted the team to pursue, but at the end of the day, it just didn't happen, and now he's taking his talents out west. When you look at it, I'm not even sure. This was personal. It just feels like McDaniel is a warm weather, West Coast type of guy. He's been around that coast for a while. He was the offensive coordinator with the San Francisco for 9 years, then he went down to Florida. And now he's back out west with the Chargers. I think a lot of it comes down to family too, from what I've been hearing. His wife and kids are from that side of the country, so it makes sense that he'd want to be closer to home, and honestly, you can't blame a guy for wanting to be near his family now. Some Eagles fans are upset because they felt like this was a missed opportunity, but I'm looking at the bigger picture here. People love to say that the Eagles' offensive coordinator job is unstable, like nobody wants to stay in Philadelphia. But let's be real, the Chargers' situation is not exactly a calm, stable environment either. They've been firing coaches and coordinators left and right. And people always point to Justin Herbert as the reason why things never quite take off. It's like the organization is constantly searching for the missing piece. And it seems like every coordinator who comes in gets blamed when the team doesn't take that next step. Think about it. Last year, they brought in Kellen Moore from Dallas. And people were excited because he had a strong track record. But even when Herbert had one of his best seasons under Moore, the team still fired him. Why? Because they still couldn't get over that hump. That's what happens in Los Angeles. The expectations are sky high, and if you don't deliver, you're out. So yeah, the Eagles may get some heat for not keeping a coordinator around. But the Chargers aren't exactly the stable choice either. At the end of the day, we should wish McDaniel well. He's going into a situation with a lot of potential. And maybe he thinks he can fix what's been broken there. But for the Eagles, this means one thing. The search continues, and we've got to find the next guy. That next interview was with Brian Daboll, and honestly, that's a name that gets people excited for a reason. Brian Daboll is a guy who has proven he can get the most out of a quarterback. We all remember what he did with Josh Allen in Buffalo. Allen came into the league as a raw talent. He had the arm, he had the athleticism, but he didn't have that polished, elite-level game yet. People were skeptical when Buffalo drafted him, but Daboll was the guy who helped turn him into the superstar we see today. He took a young, raw quarterback and built him into a top-tier player, and that's a skill you can't ignore. And yes, Daboll did have some success with the Giants too. He got them to the playoffs, and even won a playoff game with a roster that wasn't exactly stacked. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley carried a lot of that team on their backs. And Daboll managed to build something that worked, but after that, things went downhill. Whether it was bad management, poor draft decisions, injuries, or just overall instability, the Giants just couldn't maintain that momentum. But still, you can't deny that Daboll has a resume that includes real accomplishments. One thing that stands out to me is that Daboll showed he can adapt before Saquon Barkley got hurt. The Giants were doing some good things, and even with Daniel Jones, he found ways to make the offense work. Then you look at what he did in Buffalo, and it's hard to argue with that kind of track record. The guy knows how to develop talent, especially at the quarterback position. So yeah, I really like that the Eagles interviewed him. I'm not talking about him as just a big name. I'm talking about him as a coach who knows how to get results. Honestly, before we even hired Nick Sirianni, I was thinking Daboll would be a great fit. I was looking at what he did with Josh Allen and thinking, this is the kind of guy who can elevate a quarterback. Allen was raw when he first came into the league, but Daboll was the one who helped him grow into the player he is now. And look, I'm not saying Allen is perfect. He still has turnover issues, and that's something that's been a problem for a long time. But overall, Daboll's project was Josh Allen, and that project worked. Allen became the guy everybody loves, and a lot of that was because of Daboll's work behind the scenes. That's the kind of coach you want if you're trying to take a quarterback to the next level. Now, let's talk about what happened after Daboll left Buffalo. He got a head coaching job, and things didn't go as planned. He ended up getting fired, and honestly, I think he was made a scapegoat. There were a lot of factors at play: management issues, injuries, questionable decisions. And the overall environment wasn't exactly the best, but at the end of the day, it felt like he got blamed for things that weren't entirely his fault, and that's why I think he could be great for Jalen Hurts. Hurts needs a coach who can push him, who can challenge him, and who can help him develop. Daboll is familiar with Hurts too, and that's an interesting dynamic. The thing is, Daboll is the guy who benched Hurts back when he was at Alabama, so there's already history there, and that could be a good thing. It shows that Daboll isn't afraid to make tough decisions, and he's not going to let anyone get comfortable if Daboll comes in. I think he would be the kind of coach who can push Nick Sirianni too. Sirianni is a good coach, but sometimes you need someone with more experience to push the whole staff forward. And Daboll has that experience. He's not just a name, he's someone who has proven he can build an offense and get results now. I know some people are worried about what this means. They're scared the notification will pop up like, Jim Bob Cooter is the new offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I get it. That would be frustrating, but I'm trying to stay positive. The reality is, we need someone with experience who knows what they're doing, someone who can push Hurts, and also push the coaching staff and management to make better decisions. I like the fire that Daboll brings. He's the kind of coach who will demand more. And that's what the Eagles need. Hurts has talent, but he's not going to reach his full potential unless he's being pushed. And Daboll has proven he can do that. He can bring out the best in a quarterback, and he can build an offense that works, so hopefully the interview went well, and more importantly, I hope the Eagles don't let him leave without a contract, because the offensive coordinator market is getting thinner and thinner. There aren't a lot of top-tier candidates left, and the Eagles need to act fast if Daboll is available and interested. The Eagles should do everything they can to secure him. If we can't get him, then the next best option might be Joe Brady. Brady has been doing good work with the Bills too, and he's definitely someone to keep an eye on. But the key is that the Eagles need an experienced offensive coordinator, someone who can lead and build a system that fits Hurts and the team's long-term future. And this is where the bigger issue comes into play. One of the main reasons coaches might be hesitant to come to Philadelphia is uncertainty. You don't know what the future of this team looks like. You don't know if the offensive line is going to decline. You don't know if the organization is truly committed to Hurts as the long-term quarterback. When you look at the big picture, there are a lot of questions that need answers. And that brings us to the A.J. Brown situation. That's the biggest storyline right now, because he's the best receiver on the team. And there are rumors about him being traded. People are talking about the Buffalo Bills, the San Francisco 49ers, and other teams. And the truth is, this is a major decision for the Eagles. Some reports said he wanted out, and that may be true, or it may not be. But one thing that's been said is that trading him could actually save the team money. Jeremy Fowler mentioned that the Eagles could potentially save around $7 million against the cap. If they traded him, that's a significant amount, but it's also something I disagree with in terms of timing. Because trading him back in October would have been a different story. Back then, you might have been able to say the season was over, and it was time to start thinking about the future. But the Eagles didn't do that. They decided to keep pushing. And A.J. Brown was still giving them the best chance to win it all. He was still the guy who could change the game. And even though the season didn't end the way we wanted, you can't deny the impact he had. Now, I know A.J. Brown had one of his worst games against the 49ers, and that was a tough moment, but he's still A.J. Brown. He's still the top receiver. And he still gives the Eagles the best chance to compete. When you look at the teams that made it to the NFC Championship, like the Seahawks and the Rams, you can't help but think the Eagles could have been there too if things had been different, if the Eagles had a competent offensive coordinator. I truly believe they could have made it further. We could have been the team that went up against the 49ers and given them a real fight. But the coaching situation held us back. So yeah, A.J. Brown is still a huge part of this team, and trading him would be a major move. Now, if the Eagles do decide to trade him, I have a strong opinion about where he should go. If you're going to trade A.J. Brown, don't send him to the 49ers. That's the last thing you want to do. If he's leaving, send him to the Bills. That's the team that makes the most sense. And it's a team that could use his talent. But before any of that happens, the Eagles need to hire an offensive coordinator, come up with a plan, and talk to A.J. Brown. You have to see if you can keep him. He's a high-talent player, a great role model, and he doesn't get involved in Drama. He's a professional. And he's a guy you want on your team. If you can keep him, you should. But if he truly wants out, then you can't force him to stay. He's not going to bring his best if he's not fully invested. So in that case, trading him would be the right move. But again, don't trade him to the 49ers. That's the worst possible outcome. If he's leaving, send him to a team like the Bills, where he can continue to thrive and where the Eagles can get something valuable in return. And that brings us to the last topic, which is Tanner McKee. There's a lot of talk about Tanner McKee being traded. And one of the predictions is that he could be headed to the Miami Dolphins for a mid-round pick. Honestly, that's not a bad deal. McKee could go to Miami and potentially become a bridge quarterback. With the Dolphins, you have a strong offense and some talented receivers. He could step in and show what he can do. We know Tua Tagovailoa's future in Miami is uncertain, and if McKee goes there, he could have a chance to compete and possibly even start for a year. If he performs well, he could earn a bigger contract down the line, and for the Dolphins, it gives them a solid backup option who could potentially turn into something more. For the Eagles, trading McKee could be a good move too. We did lose Kyle McCord, and will likely need to draft another quarterback. McCord was supposed to be the safe option to be the backup after McKee leaves, but he wasn't ready, and now he's with the Packers. Best of luck to him. So the Eagles will need to figure out their QB situation, and drafting a new quarterback might be the next step. In the end, McKee could get a real opportunity in Miami, and we'll have to see how things play out. The Dolphins may bring in another quarterback in the draft, or they may decide to roll with what they have. Either way, this is a situation to watch closely, because it could impact the Eagles' roster and their future plans. All right, now let's keep this going because the Eagles' offseason is still a whirlwind, and the storylines are only getting more intense. We already covered the coaching situation, the A.J. Brown rumors, and the potential Tanner McKee trade, but there's still a lot more to unpack, especially when you start thinking about the bigger picture and what the Eagles need to do to actually take that next step. One thing that stands out to me is the fact that the Eagles have to figure out what kind of identity they want on offense. Right now, it feels like the team is at a crossroads. You have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who has shown flashes of being elite, but he's also been inconsistent in some key moments. You have a superstar receiver in A.J. Brown who can change the game on any given play. And then you have a coaching staff that has had some success, but also some serious questions, especially when it comes to play calling and game management. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have begun circulating in the NFL world after a recent revelation from defensive end Josh Sweat, who openly admitted that he regrets leaving the Philadelphia Eagles. The comment, made during an interview that has since stirred speculation, has fueled rumors that Sweat may be reconsidering his career path, igniting a firestorm of debate among fans and analysts alike. Known for his relentless pass rushing ability and athleticism, Sweat was a key figure in Philadelphia's defensive scheme, helping anchor a unit that consistently frustrated opposing quarterbacks. His departure, initially framed as a move for a fresh start and bigger opportunities elsewhere, now seems to carry a tinge of second thoughts. Sources close to this situation suggest that Sweat's dissatisfaction is less about his current environment and more about missing the unique culture he experienced in Philadelphia. Teammates have described the Eagles' locker room as tight-knit and focused on winning together, a dynamic Sweat himself hinted at longing for in recent comments. The idea that he might want to return or at least reopen discussions with his former team has ignited speculation among sports media outlets, with fans flooding social platforms with theories, predictions, and even mock trade scenarios. Analysts are weighing the possibilities, considering both team needs and salary cap implications. The Eagles, always mindful of building a dominant defensive front, could see Sweat's potential return as an opportunity to restore a familiar edge rusher, while sending a message about loyalty and culture in the locker room. Meanwhile, Sweat's current team may face internal discussions on how to retain a player whose heart appears partially elsewhere, balancing contractual obligations with morale and performance. While nothing is confirmed, the mere hint of regret has NFL circles buzzing. Could this be the start of a surprising mid-season twist, or just a nostalgic reflection from a player revisiting his roots? Either way, the story has captured the imagination of fans who recall Sweat's explosive plays and unwavering energy during his time in Philadelphia. One thing is certain, the narrative surrounding Josh Sweat is far from finished, and the next chapter could reshape both his career and the Eagles' defensive outlook in unexpected ways. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.